Alright, y'all. So I know it's been a crazy 12 plus hours around the NBA, especially with all the trades that have been going down and trade rumors that have went down. This video will cover the recent trades that have happened today because there are 3 trades that absolutely went bat sh crazy. And then the other one, we'll talk about the James Harden scenario where he is most likely going to end up with the Cleveland Cavaliers when it's all said and done. So if you are watching this video, we are going to talk about the trades that have actually happened. The first trade we are going to cover is the Jaren Jackson Jr. trade to the Utah Jazz. In this trade, they are not only trading Jaren to Utah, they're also including John Conchar, Jock Landale, and Vince Williams Jr. to Utah for Walter Clayton Jr., Kyle Anderson, Taylor Hendricks, George Niang, and 3 future first-round picks per Shams. This is a good trade for the Memphis Grizzlies because they needed to blow up their roster anyway. It all started with Dillon Brooks in 2023. I made multiple videos covering the Memphis Grizzlies and how bad they have fallen off. When they got rid of Dillon Brooks in 2023, after they got embarrassed in the first round by the LA Lakers in 6 games, they threw him under the bus. They let him walk to Houston. Memphis was bad during the 2023-24 season. They made the playoffs last year, but unfortunately, they got swept by the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the writing was on the wall when not only Ja got injured in that series, but they blew a 29-point lead in Game 3 of that series as well. And because of the fact Ja is essentially done with Memphis, they needed to get rid of all the pieces that were there during the 2022 season when they were really, really good. Obviously, they traded Desmond Bane to the Orlando Magic for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, KCP, and he might get traded soon. And of course, Ja Morant is going to get traded either before the deadline or during the offseason because I don't think he's going to stay in Memphis for much longer. And plus, if you guys look at it, I was talking about this with my friends, they might do a triple big lineup with Lauri Markkanen at the small forward, Jaren Jackson Jr. at the power forward, and Walker Kessler as a starting center. Now, it's kind of interesting how that shakes up because Lauri naturally is a power forward, but you can play him at the small forward. The only thing is, Lauri's never been a great defender, but he has those 2 guys that could cover ground for him, especially with how good they are. I mean, Walker Kessler is a really good shot blocker, and Jaren Jackson Jr. is a pretty good shot blocker at his position as well. There's a reason why Jaren won the 2023 Defensive Player of the Year award. And who knows, maybe Walker Kessler walks, no pun intended, he might walk in free agency because I don't know if Utah's going to have the money to pay him because you are taking on a guy that signed a pretty big contract with Memphis. But I think it'll work out, and I think they have a foundation to not necessarily contend, but to be a competitive team going forward. And it also helps that a guy like Keontae George has been balling. Obviously, I said it multiple times, Lauri Markkanen has been absolutely on a scoring tear this year, averaging a career-high 28 a game. Ace Bailey is starting to come into his own now after he essentially acted like Shedeur Sanders in last year's draft, if y'all know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? But the thing, too, is that they get nice auxiliary bench players. I like Svi Mykhailiuk, former Laker. Nice shooter. They might star him at the small forward, though, according to an ESPN projected lineup. So that way they won't have to deal with 3 bigs on the floor at the same time. Which, it ain't the worst thing in the world if they do, but I can understand why you'd start Svi Mykhailiuk in that sense. But with Keontae and Ace pretty much being your starting backcourt going forward, I think this is really good for Utah. You get 2 defensive-minded bigs. Jaren Jackson can space the floor and all that other stuff. As far as other auxiliary players go, Vince Williams Jr. is a nice 3-and-D guy to have on your team. Coming off the bench, hit some threes. He can play solid defense. John Conchar he's a decent rotational player, but he hasn't really gotten much playing time anyway with Memphis, especially as of late. I think he's still hurt. I don't know. I haven't watched too much of John Conchar, but when I did, I know he's a nice rotational player to have off your bench. And Jock Landale is a decent big to have off your bench for 10 to 15 minutes. Give you good solid energy, give you solid defense on the low post, and he could fill in whenever Walker Kessler or Lauri or Jaren get into foul trouble. You know what I mean? He is that type of big to have off your bench, and I do like watching Jock Landale ever since his 1 season with the Phoenix Suns back in 2022-23. On the other side of things, again, the Grizz need to blow up their roster. I think Walt Clayton Jr. is a pretty good focal point for their rebuild. And if Walter Clayton stayed in Utah, he would have had to play behind Keontae. He would have had to play behind Ace Bailey. He definitely would have had to play behind Vince Williams Jr., Elijah Harkless, J-Dub's brother, or Jalen Williams' brother, Cody Williams, who I don't know why that guy gets playing time. That dude is not good. Like, he's worse than Bronny, and that's saying a lot. No offense to Bronny. He would have had to play behind Isaiah Collier too. So Walt had essentially no place in the Utah rotation. So I think giving him a fresh start in Memphis, even though he's a rookie, he could really showcase why, he is a good guard to have on your team. And I think he will be the type of focal point that, I don't want to say he's going to be an SGA type of focal point for the Grizzlies rebuild, but he could be, he could come into his own without having to play behind so many guards. So they needed to move him. And also, Memphis gets really good draft capital, so definitely they are going to move Ja Morant either before the deadline or during the offseason as well. As far as the other guys go, well, I don't care about them. They might waive Kyle Anderson, or they might keep him because he knows Memphis and he can be a good vet for the young guys. But I know they're going to trade Georges Niang. But again, I don't really care that much because whenever I think of Georges Niang, I think of this clip right here. Yeah. Anyways, let's move on to the second trade. Let's move on to trade number 2. It's a 3-teamer involving the Chicago Bulls, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Detroit Pistons. This trade would get Mike Conley and Jaden Ivey going to the Chicago Bulls, while the Detroit Pistons get Kevin Huerter and Dario Saric. Detroit will also receive a 2026 protected first-round pick swap from the Timberwolves. And Minnesota would get $10 million worth of cap space relief because they are trying to go all in on the Giannis sweepstakes, so that way Anthony Edwards could be paired with another superstar. Now, I'm not too much of a fan of it if I'm the Pistons because, yes, you do get an additional shooter in Kevin Huerter. I think he's a really good shooter, and I think he'll do pretty well with Detroit. But the thing is, I don't know if it was worth giving up Ivy for someone like that, though. You know what I mean? Like, because I understand that Jaden Ivey was becoming expendable because of the fact that guys like Dennis Jenkins, and then you have Karis LeVert, who he might get traded as well. I'm still hoping for the Klay Thompson trade because they get 3 shooters to complement Cade and Tobias and Jalen Duren. But, again, I don't know. I'm not really a fan of that package if I'm Detroit. But Chicago gets a really nice young guard to be part of their future. I know Kobe White is going to get traded. I know Mike Conley, he might get waived, possibly. But they needed to get off of a guy like Kevin Huerter's contract, and he needed to go anyway, so I think Detroit would be a nice fit for him because he provides additional shooting off the bench. And Dario Saric, well, he's kind of washed now because he hasn't really been the same since he tore his ACL in the 2021 finals when he was with the Phoenix Suns. But if the Pistons got the Dario Saric from back then, that would be a huge upgrade and that would be a steal because he was doing really good things backing up DeAndre Ayton and helping out the second unit with guys like Cam Payne and Torrey Craig. But he's not that. He's just there for salary purposes, and don't be surprised if Detroit waives him. But again, Chicago has a really weird guard situation, and I'm going to explain it even further with my third trade that I'm going to talk about in this video that went down between the Boston Celtics and the Chicago Bulls again, involving Anthony Simons. But I'm really not that big of a fan of this trade if I'm Detroit because you're trading one of your promising young guards. I get it, he became expendable, especially since Duncan Robinson is the full-time starter on that Pistons team. I get it. But I don't know. He was looking like he was becoming a really reliable second unit ball handler off the bench along with Dennis Jenkins. I don't know. I don't like the fact that they kept LeVert over him, even though he might get traded as well. But I don't know. What do y'all think if you're a Pistons fan? Do you like this trade? Because, again, you get a shooter off your bench, but I don't know if it's worth getting rid of Ivy just for that deal to happen. But the Minnesota thing is actually interesting, though, because, like I said, they are all in on the Giannis sweepstakes. But if it backfires on them, Ant-Man is stuck with no complimentary star nor a point guard. Because I know Julius Randle is a supplementary star, but unfortunately, it's just like he's way too up and down for my liking. He was like that next to Jalen Brunson on the Knicks. He was sort of like that in the playoffs last year, but again, they made it to the conference finals with him, so I guess I could be wrong on that as well. But I don't know. They don't really have a point guard because if you wanted to play it safe, you would have had Kobe White in that deal. But unfortunately, for them, if it backfires, they would be stuck without a point guard. And now Dante, DiVincenzo, and Ant will have to be the ones that be the primary ball handlers. And I'm not a big fan of that. So I think Kobe White would have been the safer option. But if they do pull the trigger for Giannis and they make that Houdini happen out of their hat, then it will be worth it. Now, to explain the influx of guards that the Chicago Bulls do have, this next trade only kind of makes their guard problem a lot more tricky. What do I mean by that? The Chicago Bulls are trading Nikola Vucevic and a second-round pick to the Boston Celtics for Anthony Simons and a second-round pick. Now, I understand some Celtics fans are kind of upset at this trade because I know some people actually grown to like Anthony on their squad. My boy Marcus, shout out to you if you are watching this, he was a big fan of Simons. But unfortunately, I told him Anthony needed to go if you guys really want to upgrade your roster. I talked about in my trade deadline videos that they might use his contract for an upgrade at the big position, even though Neemias Queta and Luka Garza have been playing really well. They have Chris Boucher too, but they might trade him as well because of the fact that they're going to have Vucci and Luka. No, not that Luka, but the other Luka Garza, and then Queta as their primary bigs, two of them coming off the bench, being those two bigs being Luka and Queta. Vucci will be their starting big going forward. So in that sense, they might trade Boucher as well. But let me tell you why I like this for Boston. Like I said, Boston gets the upgrade at the big position they need. Even though Queta has been playing really well, Luka Garza has been having a nice year off the Celtic bench, but I think they felt like they want to get a more competitive, the Celtics felt like they needed to get a big to help them be more competitive, especially when Jason Tatum comes back. A lot of people discredit Jason Tatum at this point, and let me address this real quick. I got into an argument with one of these bozos on Instagram when they said, oh yeah, Anthony Edwards is better than Tatum. I'm just like, how? Tatum is literally the Celtics' best player, and they're saying, well, they're doing well without him. I'm just like, bro, yeah, just credit the Celtics coaching staff and the system. Jason Tatum takes them to the finals. Jaylen Brown will take them to the second round. I don't understand why people don't give Jason Tatum the respect he deserves, and it's sickening coming from someone who's supposed to take the Celtics. I hate the Celtics, but I love Jason Tatum. Y'all better show him that same respect that y'all give Anthony Edwards. I am sorry. I want to get that out of the way. It's just like the guy can't win because when he wins, he's overrated. When he loses, he's overrated. I don't get that. But when Ant loses, we're supposed to feel sorry for him. But when he wins, oh man, we need to pound our chest and pour honey all over him. I mean, I like Ant, but I'm just like, guys, let's be fair here. Like, come on. Anyways, the Boston Celtics are stacked. They have a guy that can get you 20 and 10. And then you have Jaylen Brown playing the way he's been playing. You have Derek White still. You have Peyton Pritchard. And then you have Queta, and then Jason Tatum coming back. Tatum's going to come back to a really, really, really good Celtics team, and I think this trade will solidify the fact that the East is going to run through the Boston Celtics. As far as the Chicago Bulls go, like I said, they have an influx of freaking guards on their team. So it's Anthony, Mike Conley, who I think they're going to waive because it would only make sense. They have Trey Jones. They still have Ayo Dosunmu. Kobe White is still there for the time being, but they might trade Kobe as well. And obviously, they have Jaden Ivey. So with that being said, I think it's going to be a very tricky situation for the Chicago Bulls. I don't know if I want to trade Ayo Dosunmu because he's still a young guy. I think he'll be a nice fit. Oh yeah, and they have Josh Giddey as well. I forgot to mention Mr. Giddey. I would have called him P. Giddey because, well, if you know, you know, but I'm calling him Mr. Giddey. No, I'm kidding. I'm calling him Josh. But yeah, they still have Josh Giddey. So I think their main focal points for guards would be Anthony, Jaden Ivey, Ayo Dosunmu, and Josh Giddey. Trey Jones might fizzle out of the rotation, so it's only right you trade him because he's still a young guard with a lot of upside. Mike Conley is in the back end of his career, even though he has a lot of game left. I would do right by him by waiving him. Maybe put him on the Memphis Grizzlies one more time, just at least to have, give Memphis something to cheer for. They get their Hall of Famer back. His number will go up in the rafters with Marc Gasol, Zach Randolph, and I think Tony Allen's up there as well. You might as well get him back as for like a farewell type of thing. Or you put Mike Conley on a contender. You know what I'm saying? So, the Bulls have a very interesting guard situation. And low-key, they might trade Anthony again after during the offseason. Oh, no. Anthony's a free agent. Nah, never mind. My fault. Anthony is a free agent, so I don't know if Chicago's going to re-sign him anyway. They might prioritize building around Giddey, Jaden Ivey, and Ayo Dosunmu. I believe that's what they should do, but I could be wrong, though. So yeah, that's all the trades I'm covering for now. I know there'll be trades later on in the day. There might be a surprise trade that'll happen at midnight. There might be some more trades that'll happen on Wednesday. Definitely trades that'll happen at the trade deadline. But these are the three major trades that just went down. What do you guys think of these trades? Who do you think won all these trades? Do you guys think Boston won the trade for Vucevic? Do you guys think Detroit won the trade because they got a shooter off the bench? Or do you think Chicago won the trade? And what do you guys think of Jaren Jackson Jr. going to Utah? Do you love it? Do you hate it? What do you think of the Grizzlies situation? Do you think they should trade Ja, or do you think they should, or do you think they should trade Ja at the deadline, or do you think that they should trade him during the offseason because, you know, his value kind of decreased? It kind of sucks now because he's hurt more often than not. But yeah, man, let me know y'all thoughts in the comments below. Again, if y'all are tuning into this video, I'm talking about the three trades that happened today on Tuesday, February 3rd. If you want to tune into my other video talking about the James Harden trade scenarios, you can definitely look at that as well, or vice versa, because again, I'll make that same announcement in that video as well. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. I'm X. Deuces.